Good morning. During May, we are diving into how light and dark coexist and support each other. And there isn't one without the other. They have their own traits and characteristics, and they may seem to operate independently, but actually the pair work in unison to balance within the spectrum, within the realms. Generally, we've been taught to embrace the light as it's good and to avoid the darkness as it's bad. And bad can mean unknown and mystery. However, the two work powerfully together. And this month, we are exploring how to appreciate and welcome light and dark for what they bring and offer the other. And this week is about our inner and outer realms. So I would like to think, as spiritual beings living a human experience, we know we live in both the inner and outer realms of life. And what I mean by this is we process our thoughts internally, privately, and we express outwardly. We interact with others and life. Both positions provide information, color, and flavor to the whole experience of our lives. When in alignment, the inner and outer dimensions work in harmony, and healthy partnerships are lived experiences. So a simple example is during writing this talk, I took a dinner break. And after saying grace, Brad, my partner, handed me a paper napkin to use, which irritates me to no end. Because I don't think they're environmentally friendly. So instead of taking it, I thought, how about contrasting this little act with my idea of an ideal life and how the incongruency of using paper napkins was going to give me stress. And it did. And just as a side note, the further apart your inner and outer realms are, the more stressed you are. Like this in between is less stress than this, right? So the problem begins when our inner and outer selves conflict and are out of balance. Simply put, a conflict between inner and outer self is referred to as a mismatch. You think one thing, but you do another. And as I said, the more the conflict, the wider the difference between what the inner self believes and what the outer self does, the more conflict. So often this disparity arrives due to spending too little time considering your inner self. How much of your time is spent just running on empty, struggling to get through the demands of the day without considering whether your actions and behaviors are in line with your inner self? Spiritual practices help us bring unconscious or subconscious into the surface to become aware of what's there. In this space, deep healing can happen as we become aware of how we sometimes sabotage our good. We cannot entirely shift our thoughts without knowing what's the burden underneath. When we calm our minds, we become aware of negative subconscious beliefs. Spiritual practice helps us heal and shift our thinking. Sometimes we're not even aware of our negative thoughts, but we are aware of them, but we keep them secret, even to ourselves, due to embarrassment and shame. Often these are biases and prejudice about ourselves or others that keep us immersed in judgment and they guide our actions. So as a student of science of mind, Wes, not this Wes, a Wes. It could be this Wes, I don't know. found himself feeling calmer, clearer, and headed in a positive direction in life. He attributed those improvements to the spiritual attunement and practicing the presence of God. The more he practiced, the deeper he seemed to delve into awareness and consciousness. At one point, his inner reflections revealed his bias about certain groups of people. These reflections seemed disturbing and discriminatory. He felt embarrassed and ashamed about these new inner discoveries, but was uncomfortable sharing them with anyone. The more he tried to tuck these thoughts away, the more they plagued him, and he became miserable. Eventually, he got the nerve to confide in his prayer partner and admitted that he didn't know what to do. He hung his head in shame and spoke softly as he reluctantly shared his dark secret. He was relieved to know that his prayer partner did not judge him, and instead thanked him for confiding in him. His friend did not only listen deeply and gave him space to process those feelings, he also provided keen insight and suggestions on how to move through this. Wes followed these suggestions and added others he had found in his research. He felt lighter and brighter and took accountability for his thoughts and feelings and addressed them head on. Wes noticed his faith and strength growing stronger through this experience. And this sense of coming clean was a great lesson for him in his spirituality and personal development. So at times, it's helpful to present a different outer self to the world than what we experience inside. Most of us weigh the pros and cons of sharing our true feelings depending upon what we expect in each set of circumstances. Our outer self, as we present to the world, and we usually try to show our very best, especially on social media, which can be forever, right? You see post-its coming back at you from 9 years ago, right? However, the problem arises when this becomes, hiding our true self becomes a habitual pattern. So your outer self spends its time coping with demands of work, home life, and whatever other real world things you experience each day. It can be demanding, leaving little time to consider what is happening on the outside of your life matches what you ultimately desire inside. So in contrast to outer self, your inner self is about what can't be seen. Feelings, intuition, values, beliefs, personality, thoughts, emotions, fantasies, spirituality, desire, and purpose. You might even know more things. A strong inner self means you cope well with emotions, are self-aware, have clarity and a good sense of your values, and feel purpose in life. It also means you can remain calm and resilient in the face of adversity from the outside world. But if we talk about the conflict between your inner world and what is in your outer world, we're talking about the stress, and that can make you more vulnerable to illness. Your daily functioning may also be affected. Some people may feel successful on the outside but feel empty on the inside. And when that happens, you may be at risk for quick fixes to heal your pain, such as turning to food, drugs, or alcohol. So one way to identify if you experience conflict between your inner and outer selves is to identify gaps between your true values and outward actions. So here's a quote I found that I really like by Reverend Howard Truman. In the stillness of the In the stillness of the quiet, if we listen, we can hear the whisper of the heart giving strength to weakness, courage, fear, hope, and despair. So, I'm going to take this moment and we'll have a few minutes of stillness of quiet. And I'd like us to reflect on things you believe in or want to believe in. Don't have to share, just think yourself. What do you believe in or want to believe in? This could include the value of honesty, integrity, friendship, helpfulness, etc. Now think about what you do each day to live your values. My daily to-do list has experience delight and visit with a friend. And sometimes when I remember and I'm visiting with a friend, I tell them, today I'm checking off experience delight with you. Killing two birds with one stone. Are there values that you have that you don't know how to manifest? This is where you will find the conflict. If you value friendship but spend each day alone, that reflects a conflict between your values, your inner self, and your actions, your outer self. So once you've identified the less than ideal areas in your life, it's time to begin quieting your inner self to connect. Slow down, focus on the moment, and listen to your thoughts as you go about your day. If things still feel far apart, consider whether you need to make changes to address these issues. Only you will know what specific changes might help to align you with your true inner self. You can ask a practitioner or a prayer partner if you want ideas, but you ultimately are the final decision. Does your current life require you to stifle deeply held values that you have? What do you most want to pursue in life? And does it match what you are doing? Will you feel good about the choices you made in your life at the end? So for homework, return to the gaps you identified in the previous quiet moments, and start with the large one that stresses you. Ask yourself what changes you will need to make to align your inner and outer selves. For example, one person may choose to change careers or reduce working hours, spend more time with the family. Another person may have something simple they want to do, and they just may get up and get a cloth napkin. Maybe as easy as that. So it may be something that you can address in one day, or it may be large and take years. So unfortunately, the tension between our inner self and outer self is typical. Each of us is pulled in multiple directions one day, and our actions and behaviors do not always align with our core values. So the same Reverend Howard Truman had another quote that I really liked. I determined to live the outer life in the inner sanctuary. So, however, becoming aware of your inner life and how it balances you your outer self is the foundation of good mental, physical, and spiritual health. The Hindu faith teaches that everybody's inner and outer life needs to be in sync, because when that happens, that is where change and growth happens. So I'm going to end this talk with affirmation. Choose to repeat it if you want to. My inward journey and outward experience are in perfect alignment. And so it is.